Hello there, this is Dr. Byrne, and this is my one-take video for A Scanner Darkly. I realize that the course has come to an end, but and I'm 3 videos behind, but I still have things to say. So I thought I'd go ahead and do these videos on the off chance that maybe one or two of you might actually look at them. Anyway, so A Scanner Darkly. First of all, let me talk about, just very briefly, about the film by Richard Linklater, and actually not about the film, but about Richard Linklater's latest film, which is Boyhood. Hopefully that will win a ton of Oscars, because I think it's a brilliant accomplishment. The film that was shot over like 15 years, so a really unprecedented effort. I actually haven't seen it yet. I will see it. I try to see all the nominated films for the Academy Awards. Okay. In terms of Richard Linklater, he's dazed and was it Dazed and Confused? Anyway, he's a well-known filmmaker. In terms of rotoscoping, he has done it on other films besides Scanner Darkly. He did a trilogy of films. I think Before Night or after. Anyway, a trilogy of films with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. The first of which he did rotoscoping. Second, which I'm not sure, but the third one it was not done rotoscoping, which I thought was interesting. Okay, but as usual, mostly I want to talk about books, and the book in this case would be Philip K. Dick's novel A Scanner Darkly. So again, I said quite a bit of it in my about the film in my film essay, so I'm going to talk more about the books here. I guess you could call me a Philip K. Dick nerd, in that Philip K. Dick is one of my hobby horses. So that's a term that I've been using all along here, beginning with Tristram Shandy, who Lawrence Stern sort of is the one who popularized the term. So a hobby horse it's not just a hobby. It's a hobby that you're obsessed about, and that you try to get other people obsessed about. So, and again, it's similar to being like a nerd, as it's come to be understood as someone who's really obsessive about something, and that's me and Philip K. Dick. Okay, so I have a stack of books here, as usual, and let's see. All right, I'm just going to show you the Philip K. Dick books that I have. Let's see. Well, let me just say first of all, one reason why I like Dick is that his science in his science fiction is sort of up. It's more or less up to date. So it's what's called hard science fiction. There's a lot of other science fiction stories that sort of take some basic ideas of science fiction and use them to fantastic ends. I'm thinking particularly of there's a series of films and television shows called Stargate, and the idea that you can sort of step through this gate and end up trillions of miles away in the universe is, well, in my mind, is kind of ridiculous, and it's sort of a lazy plot. And well, I mean, a lot of them are in terms of the science fiction. But Philip K. Dick's not like that. There's other writers. Kim Stanley Robinson comes to mind, another hard science fiction writer. And one of the things about the film Interstellar, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, is that I know people have seen it and find it sort of incomprehensible, but the science is very hard. Kip Thorne, one of the most prominent theoretical physicists in the world, was a consultant on it. So the science is hard. It's good. It's right on. Then they sort of take it to some fantastic ends. But anyway, I haven't seen that movie either, but it's been on my list for quite a while. All right, I'm talking about books by Philip K. Dick. This is a book called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. This is from 1965, so one of his earlier novels. It's hardback, which is what attracted me to it and why I bought it. It's the story is about colonists in the solar system. The Earth's been, more or less destroyed or ruined, and so people have to leave Earth to one of the satellites or planets in the solar system, and it's a very, very primitive existence. The only way they can really survive it is by taking drugs. A particular drug that Philip K. Dick had invented for the story. But one thing to note about it is the attitude towards drugs, or hallucinogenic drugs particularly, in the Palmer Eldritch is much more positive than the one in A Scanner Darkly. And that's probably because in '65, Philip K. Dick probably hadn't tried any or many of these drugs, whereas in the '70s he was, of course, addicted to drugs. So it makes sense that you'd have two very different attitudes towards drugs. Okay, there's also a couple of Dick's later books, starting with Valis. Dick might call this non-fiction, because later in his life he had sort of a religious vision that had this sort of science fiction aspect to it. He believed that there was this huge benevolent being, more or less a computer, in a spaceship, hovering around above Earth, that was controlling people's lives, including that of Philip K. Dick. So it was a religious experience of an alien intelligence, a god of some kind. And this was Dick's more paranoid period. So, the idea of the alien being in form of a machine in the spaceship controlling people, that's sort of tin hat stuff in terms of wacky out there stuff. Another book, this one was published after Dick's death. It falls along the same idea of Valis in terms of this ship here. That's Valis, the alien intelligence controlling people. So let me talk about A Scanner Darkly. 7 minutes in. Okay. Here's my copy of A Scanner Darkly. I suppose I could have an older edition if I was really into it. This is, of course, the movie tie-in version, so you have some of the artwork from the film, and you also had now a motion picture on top of here. So, but actually, it's a fairly conventional novel, not that interesting in itself. However, I have another copy of Scanner Darkly. I found this at the local used bookstore called Wonder Books here in Frederick, Maryland. And this is, you can see, it's a very different shape. It's hardback, but that's not the interesting thing about it. The interesting thing is it's a graphic novel. And that's the title page. I think I'll probably come back to that in terms of one of the points I want to make. This is the opening of it. In terms of yours, the thing about Shrek and his thing about bugs, and here's one of the more interesting sort of layout. That's the thing about graphic novels, is you have to think about how you're going to make the different cells, and basically how you're going to tell the story with these boxes and circles, and how do you mix them up to make it interesting. And this is one of the more interesting designs, page designs in the work. This graphic novel version. Well, let me just get to one of the main issues here in this book. Is you have here on this page an explanation of the suit that the characters wear, particularly Bob Barker, the Scramble suit. And the problem with this graphic novel edition is that you don't see the suit moving. That's one of the big one interesting feature in the film, is that if it's animated, you can change the expressions and the human aspects. So, but instead you just sort of get this mush image on him. It changes throughout the book. So that you have different kinds of faces on one face, but it just doesn't work. in a still in a book. You need to see it moving, and so we've been talking all along in this course about how do you translate the book into a film. Well, in this case, we're talking about how do you translate the film back into a book. It's something that a little term is remediation. You take something in one medium and you turn it into another one. So again, for us, it's been book, film, but in this case, it's film, book, and we see something about the film that can't be translated in the book form, namely the scramble suit. Okay, 10 minutes. Let me just talk about some other writers that are like Philip K. Dick in my mind and works. Okay. One of my favorite writers, and initially I didn't really consider him a science fiction writer because later in his career he wasn't, and that's Kurt Vonnegut. So I'm a huge Kurt Vonnegut fan, more of a Vonnegut nerd, and Vonnegut's more my hobby horse than say Philip K. Dick. He, like Philip K. Dick, he began his career as a science fiction writer and later sort of branched into social satire. And both Dick and Vonnegut deal with, alternate realities, but also, alternate histories is something that Philip K. Dick actually does. I forget. He has a couple novels where he does alternate histories, in one of which, the Nazis win World War II, and then he imagines what the world would look like after that. So Kurt Vonnegut does similar things. So let me look at one work in particular. Slapstick by Kurt Vonnegut came out in the 70s. Probably not his most prominent work, but it is an alternate history of the United States after some, basically after something happens and the world falls apart, have some sort of apocalypse, and dystopia results, and that's very much true of this book, Slapstick. So it's similar to Scanner Darkly, and then it's both dealing with sort of an alternate history of the United States in the 1970s. Okay, let's see another one. Galapagos. Again, probably not one of his most well-known works, but it's basically a story told from a million years in the future, after which there's, an apocalypse. In this case, I think humans, there's some plague and humans can't breed anymore, and they evolve into these sort of fish human hybrids. So again, another sort of alternate history, and sort of reflection on Darwinian science as well. All right, another writer that reminds me of Philip K. Dick is a writer named Samuel Delany. I believe he's still alive. He's probably in his 80s. Science fiction writer. Though what he brings to it, it's kind of interesting. He's African American and he's gay, and he deals with issues of race and issues of sexual politics in his books. This is Dahlgren. Some consider this his classic. It's a big, fat one. It's very, very dense, which is sort of the issue with Samuel Delany. But the story of this, again, is a sort of another alternate history of the United States in the 1970s. It's this unnamed Midwest city that just falls into anarchy, and it draws all of these anarchists and visionaries to come and try to create a new society in the shell of the old. This book, like many of our books on our syllabus, is unfilmable. It's never had a film treatment or a film production. Again, it's probably because of the writing style. It's very dense, and Delany comes out of a postmodern tradition, so that means it's very the style is dense, the plots are complicated, and he makes readers work with minimal rewards. Though the rewards are there if you like that kind of writing. A concept that Delany introduced was in another book, but he discusses the phenomenon in other books, and that's cultural fugue, Fugue. Cultural fugue is just basically a society reaching a level of complexity where it just sort of implodes and falls apart. and that's what happened to the city in Dahlgren, and it's one of the themes of Delaney. Okay, 15 minutes. I think that's where I stop. So I'm going to finish this and upload it and move on to the next one. So, bye.